My name is Phil Fernberg. I am the chair of the board of directors and executive officer for Latter-day Saint Earth Stewardship. And on behalf of the board and all of our leadership, I want to say welcome, and we're so glad you're here. Being a faith-based organization, we do like to start our events with prayer, so we have asked one of our board members, Mary Kay Smith, to come up and do that for us.
Our Father who art in heaven, we are so thankful unto Thee this evening to be gathered together as Latter-day Saints and friends, and we're so grateful for the blessings in our lives. We thank Thee for this beautiful creation that we are able to enjoy, the blessings that come to us each day, and we pray that we'll be touched by Thy Spirit to be better earth stewards ourselves and to share our love of creation with others in ways that it can be received. We thank Thee for the blessings of the gospel and pray for the leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, particularly President Nelson, as they prepare for our next conference. Again, we thank Thee for the blessing of being here together. We ask Thee to bless us with safety, both as we're together and as we leave and return to our homes. We thank Thee for the speakers who've prepared to share with us and all who've helped create this evening. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you so much, Mary Kay. It's really, really encouraging to see you all here in the audience today. I wanted to ask a couple of things. If you happen to receive Latter-day Saint Earth Stewardship, or LDSES, as we affectionately like to call it, our newsletter, could you raise your hand? Okay, pretty good amount. If you have ever served on the board or been part of a chapter of LDSES, could you raise your hand? And actually, let's keep the previous hands raised from the newsletter too. Okay. If you have ever been to a fall forum before, okay, it's pretty good. Now, everybody else who didn't raise your hand, if this is your first time perhaps at a fall forum or even first time engaging with LDSES, raise your hand if something about tonight interested you. I would assume so, right? So everyone in this room is connected in some way to the subject matter of earth stewardship, the intersection of faith, religion, environment, our relationship to creation, to our creators. And this is what LDSES is about. We are conveners. Our mission is to honor God by learning and living together principles of Latter-day Saint creation care. And we are not church affiliated, but church adjacent to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but we don't necessarily believe that these principles are, while unique to our religion, many of the principles of creation care we also believe are universal. And so it is fundamentally an interfaith effort, and our vision is to make every saint and every child of God a steward through pillars of action and service, education, inspiration, and a feeling of awe and wonder. And we hope that through the awe and wonder of tonight's events, you'll feel inspired to then get more educated and perhaps serve. Maybe a quadrifecta of a process together. I am going to turn the time to one of our board members, Teresa Gomez, to introduce the theme and some of our performers. And I just wanted to say really quickly, for those of you that are here and living locally in Utah, it's been a rough week, and it's been a rough couple of weeks with events that have happened. And they're not just unique to Utah. There's been lots of unsettling events of violence around the world. And I can't help but think that most, if not all, of these tragic events are driven by people feeling not connected to each other. Individuals not feeling connected to each other, families not feeling, communities not, nations not feeling connected to each other. Which is why I think the theme of this year's Fall Forum is all the more relevant, especially given things that just happened down the road. Teresa's going to explain how we came to this theme, why we chose it, and then introduce our first performers of the night. So, Teresa?
Hello. Can you hear me? I'm short. Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay. Welcome, everybody. It's really good to see you tonight here. As Phil was saying, the theme of this year is Inseparably Connected, which goes together with the scripture in DNC 93:33, and I'm just going to paraphrase a short part of the scripture that says, "Man is spirit and element are inseparably connected, and when they're inseparably connected, they receive a fullness of joy." It has been a hard week. It has been a hard life, I would say, sometimes. But our intention with choosing this theme for this year is that by the time we all leave this room, we'll hope that all of us feel a little bit more connected, a little bit more hopeful, and a little bit more empowered, and a little bit more joyful. We know from the scriptures, too, that we're here to have joy, and as the scripture says, when we are connected, we can experience this joy. This is what we do best. We were listening to a book last night that talked about how humans are really good at finding joy, even in the worst times, right? Like, you can be really, really, really sad, but if you see a tiny baby playing and having fun, you will smile at least for a second, right? Whenever we take the time, we just had a little dinner with some of you and talked about awe and wonder and looking at the little things. When we pay attention to the little things, we can find little reasons to be hopeful and joyful and choose to do so. Today, our theme is connection. There's a lot of things that we want to be connected to. It's kind of like a little, I don't know, a patchwork or something that we're weaving together. We want to be connected to God and our heavenly parents and Jesus Christ. We want to be connected to ourselves and our divinity. We want to be connected to each other, and we know here in this audience that it is also crucial for our development on this earth to be connected to nature. They don't go separate, they all go together, and our hope today is that we get to, as we experience art in many ways, that we get to put all the dots together in some way or another. I'm very excited for all the art performances tonight. A lot of you have already experienced our art gallery or display out there, and now we're going to have a couple of performances here, but art has this power to help us feel things, right? It's just kind of magical that you listen to a song and you look at a piece and you feel something in your heart. And my personal belief is that that is our divinity, right? Like, we are all children of the greatest creator, and we are divine because we are his. And when we feel those little things, that's the divinity within us waking up a little bit. When we are the dancers or the musicians or the painters, that's us already exercising our divinity as creators. So we hope that today, through art, through music, through word, and through personal interactions, which is my favorite part of these things, you get to touch a little bit on your divinity, to remember that even though there is a lot of tragic things happening, there is always an opportunity for you to do something. The fact that you're showing up here is already showing how committed and how powerful you are, right? Everybody can like or post on social media. I'm sure we had a lot of likes on our advertisements for this event, but you are here, which is showing already that you care, that you're powerful, and that you're not alone. Look around you. There's a lot of us here tonight, which gives me a little hope. Because yes, there's a lot of bad things happening out there, but at this moment, in this room, we're all here together because we care for each other, because we care for the earth, and because we want to do something. So we hope that you have a great time tonight, that you get to be present and make new friends, and allow yourself to feel things, and to acknowledge that you are divine, and that you have many possibilities, and that you are already doing something good for humanity. And with that said, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our first performance. We have a dance number coming up, and we are really, really excited about it. Our dancers are coming from BYU, and I'm going to read a little bit about their bio. So Professors Michelle Kelsler and Keely Song are the ones that have put together this group, and I'm going to read a little bit about what they do. So Michelle and Keely are artistic collaborators at BYU in the School of Music and the Department of Dance. They design interdisciplinary performances and research integrating music within the environmental science, dance, and media arts. Through their collaboration, they mentor and guide students beyond their artistic disciplines of cello and dance and into the practice and discourse of ecosomatics and eco-performance. Tonight's performance is by Grace Snow, a senior cello performance major at BYU and a member of the BYU Philharmonic Orchestra. Dancers are Lauren and Thomas Fiquet. Forgive me if I didn't say this right. They're both dancers. They're both dance education majors at BYU and are currently at BYU Young Ambassadors team. Previous to joining the Young Ambassadors, they performed on the BYU Contemporary Dance Theater and at BYU Dance Connect. They will be performing Dancing to Orbit by Philip Glass, a cello solo designed by the composer to include dance. So please welcome the BYU School of Music and Dance by giving them a round of applause.
That was incredible. Thank you. The next part of our program, we're going to go to our keynote speaker. And that keynote speaker is Dr. Steven Peck. Stephen L. Peck is an evolutionary biologist and author who has written novels, essays, and poetry. Raised in Moab, Utah, Dr. Peck earned a Bachelor of Science in Statistics and Computer Science from BYU, and a Master of Science in Environmental Biostatistics from University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and a PhD in Biomathematics and Entomology from North Carolina State University. Dr. Peck is currently a biology professor at Brigham Young University, where he teaches bioethics and the philosophy of biology, emphasizing that evolution is not at odds with religious faith. Dr. Peck's literary works include award-winning novels such as Gilda Trillim, Shepherdess of Rats, The Scholar of Moab, and A Short Stay in Hell. His book of essays, Evolving Faith, Wanderings of a Mormon Biologist, explores the intersection of faith and science. And it is my absolute deep pleasure to welcome Stephen.
Oh, good. I can't see any of you with the light, so that helps. Yo-Yo Ma said he pretended everybody was dogs, and that seemed like a good idea. Calm the nerves. I am so happy to be here. This is such an honor. I feel like I'm among friends. I'm among people who are interested in the same things that I am. I'm so excited to be here. I appreciate so much the invitation by Latter-day Saint Earth Stewards, and I'm just filled with excitement that this is happening. I love that dance, the music, the choreography, everything about it was stunning. And it fits into the themes I want to talk about today. I've been working on a project with the Maxwell Institute. In fact, I just joined the Maxwell Institute as a fellow on I call it the theology of birds. But what it's really about is the theology of embodiment. As a missionary, I would tell everybody we came down to earth to get a body. And as time has gone on, as I've become a biologist, as I've entered a world where embodiment is a central theme, I've realized how important embodiment is. Spinoza said, we don't know what a body can do. And I think that's true, the potential, the ability. And so I'll hope you'll not mind if I indulge myself a little bit. I play in several worlds, and I want to give you some of that sense. I want to talk about embodiment. I want to look at poetry, about connections. I want to share with you some sound recordings that I've recorded in my trying to understand what bodies can do, what the bodies in particular of birds. But I think of all bodies. I think of the bodies of bees and sparrows and any of these things. So I guess I better figure out how to use this. Okay, not that. Is this my clicker? Oh, wait, is it? No. There must be a way to advance the slides, I suppose. Oh, I found it.
Oh, you got it. Enjoy my stuff.
Yes, I'm sorry I'm a little slow at the uptake in technology. So I think it's always good to start with Walt Whitman if we're talking about the world. And so I'd like to start with reading a poem of his, because I want to start with sound. We're going to wander a little bit. We're going to wander through sound. We're going to wander through some stories, some poetry, and science itself. And I'm going to try to convince you that the world is so rich, we can't capture it with science, with words, with any of the usual tools that we would use to communicate things in a straightforward way. But that things like art, poetry, music, dance, art, capture things that we can't speak of in any other way. And I think that's important to remember. So this is from Whitman's poem, The Leaves of Grass. Now I will do nothing but listen, to accrue what I hear into this song, to let sounds contribute toward it. I hear bravuras of birds, bustle of growing wheat, gossip of flames, clack of sticks, cooking my meals. I hear the sound I love, the sound of the human voice. I hear all sounds running together, combined, fused, or following. Sounds of the city, sounds out of the city, sounds of day and night. And for the last few years, I've been, there we go. I've been recording the world with some students. We started a podcast called Winging It, From Curiosity to a Scientific Fact. And it was to explore the world without any preconceived projects or things that the professor has imposed on students. And I said, let's go look at the world. Let's go listen to the world and see what we find. And from there, let's develop some scientific hypotheses we can test. And so we began to record the world. This is a picture of some of my students out in the first picture was taken up in Rock Canyon, it's very local, and the other one is in the Provo Cemetery. You go to weird places to listen to things. This is a recording that I made just outside of Rexburg in something called the Cotier Slough. It's essentially a swampland, and I'd set up some recordings devices there and left them out all night. And about midnight, a huge thunderstorm rolled in. Just listen to this for just a second. Can you feel that? Can you hear the rain in the background starting to fall? About 2 hours later, after the storm had completely cleared, the sky was full of stars. This was the next thing that I recorded. I'll see if you can guess what it is. Hear a little wind. I hope it's playing. Oh, there it goes. Given the picture, somebody shout out what you're listening to. Coyotes, yes, exactly. I love coyotes. In fact, I'm going to read a poem about coyotes in a second. But what was interesting to me is how in the first we get the power of the earth in motion, just the motion of thunder, of lightning, some of the earth processes that we see. And then the living world full of agents trying to communicate. You talk about connections. The coyotes are trying to reach each other. As I listened to this, I had a strong feeling that these coyotes were embodied beings that were our kin. They were doing things that we, in a sense, understand as we let communication enter our hearts. I've also recorded quite a bit of this particular, if you're one of my students, you've probably heard my diatribes against leaf blowers. They get pretty vicious sometimes, and I'm really opinionated. But listen, you'll hear something in this. Let me play it again. Oh, I missed it. Anyway, there was a bird singing, and that bird was trying to be heard over. And I'm going to look at some of the scientific findings of birds trying to adjust to anthropogenic noise. The next thing I'd like to talk about is noise. I want to talk about sound and noise together. And I want to draw on the work of Alfred North Whitehead, a philosopher, and he thought a lot about bodies. He was a process philosopher, process theologian, somebody who believed deeply in God and wanted to introduce the idea that to a Latter-day Saint audience will be familiar, that God is not a thing out there that's so far away from us we can't even talk about it. We believe in an embodied God, a God of flesh and bones, heavenly parents who are embodied. And Alfred North Whitehead said, "The body is that portion of nature with which each moment of human experience intimately cooperates. There is inflow and outflow of factors between the bodily actuality and the human experience, so that each shares in the existence of the other. The human body provides our closest experience of the interplay of actualities in nature." Our enjoyment of actuality is the realization worth good or bad is the value experience. And he's talking about values here. He's talking about aesthetic values, what things. And he says, it's the basic expression is, have a care. There is something that matters. Yes, that is the best phrase. The primary glimmering of consciousness reveals something that matters. And I really like that, because I think that nature is, in fact, holy. Oh, I skipped something here. Sorry. More Walt Whitman. I love Walt Whitman. Excuse my preponderance of his poetry, but to me, it captures things about nature that I haven't seen written in any other way. I believe a leaf of grass is no less than the journey work of the stars, and the pismire is equally perfect, and a grain of sand and the egg of the wren. A tree toad is the chef hors d'oeuvre for the highest, and the running blackberry would adorn the parlors of heaven. And the narrowest hinge in my hand puts a scorn of all machinery, and the cow, crunching his depressed head, surpasses any statue, and a mouse is a miracle enough to stagger sextillions of infidels. And now we get here. Nature is holy. And I believe that. I believe nature is sacred. The creation is sacred. And it's a part of things that deeply, deeply matter. But we're going through difficult times. And I want to tell a story of an experience I had at an evolutionary ecology conference. And I was listening to a conference from a man who had studied coral reefs. And he was up there giving us charts and statistics of things that he had discovered about the bleaching of corals. And it was very disturbing scientific talk, but he was keeping it professional. And suddenly, his hand starts to shake, and his voice starts to shake, and he starts to go quiet, and he's obviously embarrassed. He's trying to get control of himself, and all of a sudden he begins to weep. And in his quavering voice, he's trying to go on, but he just can't. And then he stops, his head bowed, and he looks up and he says, "They're all being lost. They're all going away." And he starts to weep even more. I'd never seen this at a scientific meeting before. I'd never been to a scientific meeting where the scientist, full of cold facts and hard statistics, just is moved and begins to weep. There's a lot of discouraging things happening in the world right now. And I'm going to play you what I think is the saddest song I've ever heard. And I'll play it. It's of a kauai o'o, a kind of honey creeper. And let's listen to this. I'll have the audio people play it. That's probably enough. What you're hearing is the last male call of a species that went extinct right at that. There was no female to answer that call. He was the last bird in existence on Kauai, last in all of their long. I think it was 100 million year evolution to get us the honey creepers, and heartbreaking sound. I hear that and it just sends chills down my spine. I give you those two examples because these are discouraging times. As Teresa mentioned, these are discouraging times. There is a lot happening. I want to bring some perspective to that, and maybe just a little bit of hope. So let me show you something beautiful. The M548 ammo carrier. I'm being a little facetious. I don't find them that aesthetically pleasing. But I used to drive one when I was in the Army as a young teenager. And I was driving it. I was at field maneuvers in Germany at the time in midwinter, and I was with another soldier, and we were making a run of about 30 miles. And all of a sudden a blizzard started, and the blizzard grew more and more dynamic, and we couldn't see anything. If you've ever been in trying to drive in a blizzard when the headlights are reflecting nothing but a white wall of snow just coming down in great abundance. And the guy I was with was really nervous, and he says, "We got to stop." And I thought, no, if we stop, we'll never get going again. Even though this is a track vehicle, could outperform a four-wheel drive, they still get stuck. And so I didn't know what to do, and I had this moment of inspiration or foolishness. I'm not sure which. But I turned off the lights. I turned off my headlights, and all of a sudden, the German landscape was alive and lit up. It was so incredible because the moon was low enough that it was coming through the storm and lighting the entire landscape. I could see the road winding through the valley. I could see farmhouses. I could see the forest. It was almost like there was nothing blocking us anymore. And it looked something like this. This is a picture by Lunga that sort of captures what it was like at that moment when I turned out the headlights. And I think this is an analogy to what we're going through today. I think we're going through a time where there are so many distractions, so many bad things. The social media, nothing but bad news. Everything we hear is like that snow coming down that's blinding us to the beauties and wonder and awe of nature. And I think we need to think about that sometimes, to think about what's the constant message of harm and distraction that we're receiving. What are we missing by missing this kind of nature? So let's pause a moment before we go on. I've introduced the idea of, I'm going to give an interlude, and this is my self-indulgent moment. This is from my new poetry book, Experiments in the Fading Light, and it's a poem about coyotes. And what I want you to take from this isn't information about coyotes. You're not going to learn a lot about coyotes. But what I hope that I want to introduce into the rest of this talk is the idea of the power of imagination. I think humans have this intense capacity to imagine new worlds. In fact, if you look in human evolution, you see that religion and art and the ability to make beads started about 50,000 years ago. But the interesting thing is it shows an imaginative capacity to think about the future, to imagine new worlds, imaginary worlds even, where you paint things like the wildebeest you're trying to hunt in an act that you want to gain power to find those wildebeests. And this is a dynamic moment. This is when I think about my LDS beliefs. I know that Adam had to have a body prepared, and that body had to be able to imagine. And I think this was one of the first steps. This was one of the openings. So this is a poem. It's based on, I don't know if you've read the bestseller Hildegard von Bingen's book, Physica. Of course, you've all read it. I don't know how long it's been on the #1 list, but it's been a while. But she gave a description of all the animals she was familiar with. Some most real, but a few like unicorns. She gives instructions on how to catch one. But she gives their healing properties, the way they're like humans. And so I imagined, what would she have written today about things like coyotes? So let me just read this. When coyotes take holy orders, and they all do, they take a vow to wander. Over the natural world, they are called to roam far and wide, visiting many climes to sample the ecosystems of the world in their variety and fullness. While solitary, they are not inclined to loneliness. They are tasked by the vocation to chronicle with their mind's eye the substances, shapes, and events of existence. This they take seriously. Such an undertaking requires a level of attention that does not lend itself to the contemplation of their isolated state. So in large, they are content in their seclusion. Many believe that they gather in groups to sing their mournful, sharp, and wintry voiced whines to alleviate their friendless states. And you just heard them whining a second ago. But this is not true. When a coyote dies, its ghost flies over the landscape until it finds a living member of its species and listens to its aria. If the eidolon is pleased, it attaches itself to the soloist for the remainder of the singer's mortal life. Thus, when a coyote howls, others nearby know it is presenting to a ghost. And they run en masse toward the sound, that they too might be considered for attachment by the spectral host. If successful, the crooner may attract many ghosts to its retinue, sometimes as many as 10 or 20. A coyote without an attached spirit feels incomplete, and others hold it in contempt. This is why dogs are so despised. They are always ghostless. Their love of science is well known. They are especially like humans in their love of nuanced tastes, in the Epicurean delight they take in sampling a selection of the different flavors of their daily ration. Coyotes will, of course, take whatever is found. They are mendicant wanderers, after all. Nevertheless, they have a refined palate and enjoy things they can first savor. It also must be remembered that these sage canids have a deep inherent spirituality accorded in proportion to the number of apparitions they have been able to gather. This gives them power to perform miracles of a particular natural type, such as making the moon appear large and more hallowed and brighter than usual. If you meet one at night under an enchanted moon, ask for a blessing. It will willingly grant your petition, allowing you ever after to hear the music of any coyotes attending shadow souls. So that was a short interlude. So we'll now turn to hard science. The COVID caused some changes in soundscapes that had a strong effect. In particular, this is a study on white-crowned sparrows. And in San Francisco, white-crowned sparrows have a more genetically oriented song. As we'll see a little bit later, birds range all the way from learning songs from scratch to genetically encoded songs. I've always wondered, how in the world do the genes code a sound? This is mind-boggling to me. But in San Francisco, the white-crowned sparrows had shifted their song upward so that they could be heard above the noise of traffic. And they had been doing this for many years, probably many decades is what I mean. But when COVID hit and the cars went silent and the noise of traffic and motorcycles died down, they began to sing the old songs. I like to say it like that because it sounds like a Viking tale. They began to sing the old songs. But they were comparable with the white-crowned sparrow singing in Virginia. So it was a moment that showed that anthropogenic noise has a profound effect. And so what I took from this was this sense that the world is immensely complex. And I'm going to go there a little more, but I want to avoid. I'm going to give you some temptations. Sometimes this is a picture of Pythagoras pondering music and the world, but we tend, because science plays there so magnificently, we tend to think about the world in terms of things that are measurable, like the measurements of the case study of the white-crowned sparrows. But to me, this is a temptation that we need to keep an eye on, because there's so much that can't be captured by reduction and by mechanism. Sure, it's real. I mean, we send rovers to Mars. That takes some great engineering and some incredible science to do that. But it's not the complete story. Again, Alfred North Whitehead, for the essence of great experience is penetration into the unknown, the unexperienced. And I want to think about experience for a second. We're all experiencing something. It might range anything from a wobbly stomach to the darkness and me talking up here. And a philosopher of science named Peter Godfrey Smith has done a lot of thinking about experience, and his question was, when did experience enter into the lineage of animals? When did experience evolve? Where did it appear? And he's done tremendous work in that. Let me just quote him, because it's worth looking at this, because we have a very limited knowledge of what experience is. We don't know what consciousness is. We don't know which animals are experiencing truly. Technically, I don't know what you're experiencing right now. I assume you're conscious, but who knows? I can't see you, so you may be napping. That's okay. I would get that. So he says, the guiding idea has been that the story of mind and felt experience comes from a story of animal life. Animal evolution produced a new kind of being, one with new kinds of engagement with the world through the sense and action. It produced subjectivity and agency. It also produced animals who handled their dealings with the world in a way that includes a tacit sense of self. I don't think that the sense of self element is the solution to the problem of, he's thinking the problem of consciousness. What is it? A turning on of the experiential lights. But it's important as a feature of the shape of sensing the action in animals, and clearly relevant to subjectivity. Earlier, I wondered about the roles of these two parts of the story, just being a self of a new kind, a locus of sensing and action, and having that sense of self. Part of the situation might be put like this. Evolution in animals puts a premium on coherent action, and a form of a certain point onward, the way to act effectively as a self is to have a sense of oneself as a unit of that kind. This sense of self is entirely tacit or implicit at first, but can become tacit as the complexity of behavior continues to evolve. And I think experience, this idea of experience of awe and wonder, like Marcus talked about, it's an amazing ability of bodies. When I was experiencing the dance number, the music, the movement of the bodies, the choreography, the way that it all came together, gave me a sense of, I just settled into this sense of amazement. I was moved in that way that only art can. So agency entered the world with this moment. It can be as simple as bacteria swimming towards the light where food is more abundant, to things like a hermit crab who uses agency to choose the shells, to fight for keeping its shell, for finding place. And interestingly, the scientific literature is telling us that hermit crabs feel pain. They have the experience of pain. And we don't know much about pain in things that aren't vertebrates. The vertebrate story of pain is pretty well worked out, the neurology of that, but we're not quite sure. So what I would like to do is show you, convince you that we share experiences with at least animals in the natural world, especially, I think, birds. So I'm going to show you a video clip. I just want to point out that the music that plays during the male's dance is not being made by the birds. It's kind of an orchestral piece. So I just wanted you to be aware. So let's watch this. This is kind of fun. So this is females choosing mates in Blue Mannequin. One thing I want you to focus on too, not only is the dance, but what goes into it that seems familiar. We just watched a beautiful and amazing dance. A lot of practice went into that performance. Both of the musicians, the faculty involved, the ability to listen. So let's watch this. This is the Blue Mannequin, and let's watch this.
The most complex routine.
It's narrated by David Attenborough, so you know it's real.
The lead male is supported by 3 junior dancers. They practice together almost every day. During rehearsals, a young male in juvenile plumage stands in for the female. The dance has to be perfectly synchronized. With the lead male happy, they're ready to present their dance to a female. In a carousel of movements, each male takes his turn at the front. The lead male performs the final move. Have they done enough? What's her decision? It's a yes. A great team effort.
Yay! I love that because it demonstrates so much. It demonstrates so much about the complexity, but also the depth of our own experience, their experience. They practiced for days. I read somewhere, sometimes even years, to work that out, to get it right. They practiced. They also improvised. They try to make it new. They also, I love that scene where they're all sort of staring to see whether she accepted the lead male, and they're all just kind of waiting, and then, yay, oh, look at that. So I think I think birds and the experiences of other creatures need to be honored as well as our own. And I'm going to be specific about that, but let's look at, I'm going to talk a little bit about anthropomorphism, just because I want to clear up some things that I've been thinking about. So here's a little cartoon. I'll let you read it because I can't see the screen at this angle or my little tiny notes. So just go ahead and indulge. And this makes sense to me. I think in the resurrection, we will probably be given beaks so that we can be this kind of higher animal. So am I projecting human experiences on animals? Yeah, I am. And I'm doing it intentionally because anthropomorphism has been denigrated so long, but we forget that birds and all creatures, in a sense, are our kin. We know they have neurology much like ours. Birds sing in the same range that we do. Their attention to things like color and motion and dance and performance are incredible. So I think we need to take Aristotle's golden mean, where he says we need to go to the center between extremes. I think you can take anthropomorphism too far, like a neighbor said of her dog. It's probably wondering when dinner's going to be, and I thought, well, it's probably not wondering. Maybe I shouldn't close that off, should I? Could be. But on the other end, where these are just machines, animals are just machines. They don't have anything in common with us. They're just going through motions that look like we understand. But look at that. Do we understand what they're experiencing? Maybe, maybe not, but I think so. They're anticipating something. They're wondering if their performance was any good. A lot of times science says this is just seeing if the fittest is the choice. And for a long time, I'm going to jump to sage grouse for a second. Sage grouse males fight a lot, and it was assumed that was part of the behavioral repertoire that they used to attract females, that females were choosing the best fighter. Well, a study recently, just in fact this year, found that females pay no attention to what the fighting males are doing. No attention at all. They are choosing the males based on what they're doing in the lek. The males are dancing. They're showing off their stuff. And the female is making a qualitative choice on who to mate with based on that. And in fact, the researchers point out they're not sure what they're choosing on. You just can't reduce it and turn it into a mechanism that you can easily quantify. French philosopher Vicien Despret, sorry about that for French speakers, but she has this really interesting observation about what birds are doing. She's a philosopher of territory, and she studies territory in birds. And this is what she said. Territory is a place where everything becomes rhythm, melodic landscape, motifs, counterpoints, matters of expression. Territory is the result of art. Territory creates and therefore insists that our thinking be guided by new relationships. Not all behaviors are purely utilitarian. There's improvisation and play. Do birds improvise? Yes, they do. This is well known. Do they play? Yes, they do. Speaking about the successful males, Despret says, the winner is not the best fighter, but the best actor. Think about that. The birds are becoming great actors. It's not actually the strongest, not actually the best territory. It's how they perceive that. This is another theologian, Charles Hartshorne. He says, we are not being overly generous, Hartshorne thinks, in seeing the bird's task as strongly analogous to our own. The goal is to lead interesting, beautiful lives, both for our own sakes and for the sakes of those, including God, who we influence. So I hope I've been at least somewhat persuasive about the beauty, the complexity, the amazing amount of nature that goes into so much that we recognize, so much animals participate. And to me, this is one of the wonders of our earth, and maybe the whole universe, I don't know. But I do know that we are only scratching the surface of the depths of consciousness, experience, and the things that are possible. Now, I gave you the example of the snowstorm and the discouragement that we face. And there are dangers that we need to pay attention to. This is a quote from Whitehead again. He says, evil are those things which destroy the aesthetic context from which they emerge. By rejecting or destroying the values actually present in those contexts, we are dependent for the continued meaning on their incorporation by other actualities. That's a little dense. What he's saying is, evil, one of the marks of evil, and this isn't standard. He sees evil as those things that destroy the context and the ability to do the things that we want to do, the values, the aesthetics, the things we want to do, like live and eat and have a safe place to live. When things begin to destroy the very foundations and context, we begin to see it as evil. And this is what happened on Easter Island. This was a beautiful forest that, forested island. It's one of the most remote islands on the planet. And at one point in their culture's history, they decided to build these giant heads. And to build these giant heads, they had to cut down trees and create giant logs to roll the heads on so they could be put in place. Now, their basic economy, their basic culture, their way of life depended on those trees. It depended on those trees to build boats to fish, to build boats to travel to other islands, very far away islands, to try to give us, to live, to bring things in. As they destroyed their forest, to roll the giant heads, to put in place, and we don't know why they did this. We don't know. Was it a mad king? Was it a practice that they became popular, a fad? No one knows. But we do know that the forest was destroyed completely and their way of life stopped. There is a reason why stewardship matters. There's a reason why we need to pay attention to the context of those forces trying to destroy ecologies and other things that we value. And I think we need to just, as I said about the snowstorm, we need to look a little deeper. We need to look a little deeper than the media blizzard that we're under most of the time. I am grateful for what Earth Stewardship does. I am amazed at all of you are here because you care about these things. And we need to be somewhat optimistic and hopeful that if we follow the right light and get behind the media buzz of a blizzard, that we'll find worth in our lives and in the lives of our children and others. Thank you.
I'm going to have the image of those birds in my head for the rest of this year. That's amazing. I'm show that to my boys when I get home. They will love that. Thank you. And Steven, you blew my mind with so many of those things. I knew, I would say less than a tenth of the things that you put in there. And and I just feel full from it, and I'm sure everybody else feels similarly. And even those who knew a thing or two about the subject you were talking about, I imagine they found new connections. So thank you. We're going to go on to our next performance. And I am going to call up a group from the, hold on, I'm just pulling up their bios here. From the nonprofit Utah Pioneer Heritage Arts. And I'm going to call up Clive Romney, who is the founder of the nonprofit, and Emmeline, Noelle, and Mariah Cobia, the Cobia sisters. They're here to perform an amazing song called I Am the Great Salt Lake. And I want to tell you a little bit about them and about this, the people who wrote this song, arranged it, and are performing it. So the writer who is not up here with us is Sam Payne. He's a musician, storyteller, and host of the Appleseed podcast on BYU Radio, or show on BYU Radio. As a veteran of the Timpanogos and Weber storytelling festivals, Payne has entertained audiences with his interesting stories and jazz-inflected folk tunes in such places as Canada, Bulgaria, Tokyo, and across the nation, including Will Rogers Auditorium in Dallas, Texas, and the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., a place I really love to go watch shows. Clive Romney, who's the arranger of this song, and you see him over there, hey Clive, is the founder of the nonprofit Utah Pioneer Heritage Arts, UPHA, and has devoted years to spotlighting lesser-known stories of Utah and its people. He's an award-winning songwriter, producer, and musician with over 500 original songs, 130 albums, movie scores, thousands of arrangements, and over 5,000 performances to his credit. I think you need to be a little more productive, Clive. A multi-instrument performer and entertainer, Clive knows the importance and the power of music to elevate stories, to touch our emotions. And the performers of this song, Emmeline, Noelle, and Mariah, were born in Michigan and grew up in Saudi Arabia. Emmeline discovered live performance and theater at an early age and began writing songs while studying piano and guitar. And she added music and media production when she got her first mic and recording software. She's presently a student at Brigham Young University along with Mariah, who's studying human development. And Noelle is about to go on her mission, I believe, to San Diego, Arabic speaking. So that's exciting. So as they are finishing setting up, I would love for you to give a warm welcome to the Cobia sisters as they perform I Am the Great Salt Lake.
Now, I'm sorry that Sam Payne, the writer, couldn't be here tonight, but we commissioned him to write it, and we told him to do what he had done one time in the past, and that is to write from the female point of view and to personify the Great Salt Lake as a woman. And so he wrote it for Emmeline to sing. Emmeline recruited her two sisters, Noelle and Mariah, the wind. And
I have seen you come by wagon loads to find this valley here. I have seen you trap the beaver. I have seen you hunt the deer. I have witnessed all your people wearing buckskin, wearing jeans, and wearing hopes for bright tomorrows. I have seen you. And before the shining cities, before you laid the rails, before you choked the passes, before you blazed the trails, I was a mirror for the mountains. I wept down rain and snow. I was the ripple and the wave. I was the cradle and the grave. And in time I made this place a home for you. Now, brother, can you see me too? I am fading, I am fading, I am fading, it is true. My ancient heart is not so mighty that it can't be broken too. And if you care for me the way that I have always cared for you, we all will live, we all will grow, man and woman. dry. A billion wings will all fall silent, and more than dreams will die. But if you keep my servant in it, keep it deep and keep it wide, our children can grow up here by my side. I turned the wheels of harvest, I seasoned all your bread. I am the coming home to rest, where the rivers all have led. And my future and my past are all bound up inside of yours. I am the breeze across the strand, I am the mother of the land. And if you cannot see a way to bring me round, oh brother, it'll all come down. I am fading, I am fading, I am fading, it is true. My ancient heart is not so mighty that it can't be broken too. But if you care for me the way that I have always cared for you, we all will live, we all will grow, man and woman, deer and buffalo. I am home, I am the great Salt Lake. We all will live, we all will grow, man and woman, deer and buffalo, on the shoulders of the great Salt Lake. I am fading, I am fading, I am fading, I am fading, it is true.
Thank you so much for that song. I don't think they mentioned it, but it has never been performed before, to my knowledge. So you heard it here first. Yeah. Yeah. And a little selfish plug, if you are interested in helping more at the Great Salt Lake or Utah Lake, come see our table afterwards, or one of the tables of our sponsors, because we have a lot of information about that. I am Chloe Mills. I'm the operations coordinator for Latter-day Saint Earth Stewardship. You've probably got my emails before. And it will now be my pleasure to introduce the 2025 Steward of the Year. So several years ago, Latter-day Saint Earth Stewardship began bestowing the Steward of the Year award to someone who had demonstrated exceptional Earth stewardship in their community. The nominations come from within LDSCS members. And it's been a pleasure and a real joy to actually read through the nominations and see all these wonderful ways people are helping in their communities across the globe. So without further ado, I'd like to announce 2025's winner of Steward of the Year, and that is Carolina Allen. So Carolina will come up in a minute. Yeah. She will be up in a minute, and we'll give her another round of applause in a minute, but I will brag about her for a little bit. So Carolina Allen blends her passion for education, family, and environmental care by operating a small school and homestead called Mountain Vista Homestead. A few years ago, she was looking for a place to work the earth, to house animals, and to feel connected to nature, and so began her journey of restoring both a house and a landscape to their natural beauty. Mountain Vista has since become a place of learning, nurturing, and growing, and a place where Carolina, her family, and other children can feel spiritually whole. Chickens, ducks, hedgehogs, lizards, bunnies, and quail also call Mountain Vista home. And speaking of birds, I think they had a peacock until it met an unfortunate demise recently, but there's lots of creatures there. This past summer, Carolina held a series of summer camp where kids learned about geology, soil science, composting, animals, and how to honor living things. Carolina also runs a micro school during the school year where preschool and elementary age kids can come learn about nature and have hands-on earth stewardship experiences while they also learn about traditional academic subjects. In addition to her personal efforts at Mountain Vista Homestead, Carolina is also the founder of Big Ocean Women, which is a maternal feminist organization that contributes to initiatives helping mothers and children across the world. Many of their projects also promote Earth stewardship, and they do have projects in many countries across the world, but I'm going to share an example from Utah. So I believe in the picture in the top left, this is a project in Dameron Valley, Utah, and there they have developed a 10-acre working community garden complete with medicinal herb and vegetable gardens, orchards, honeybees, chickens, and rabbits. This has become a community hub for people there for gathering and educating children, and it has also provided hundreds of pounds of organic food for the entire community. So Carolina is a great example of Earth stewardship because she lives it and she helps others live it as well. So let's give another round of applause for Carolina Allen. Carolina, if you want to come up.
This is such an honor. Sorry, I'm very short. I feel so touched tonight. Everything about tonight has just been amazing. From, the beautiful words that, Steven Peck gave us, and the beautiful dancing and the music that was just played. My heart is so full. I feel like I belong here, you are my people. I'm just grateful that LDS Earth Stewardship has carved out a beautiful green patch of fluffy grass to land on in a world that's just filled with smoke and dust and concrete. I wrote a few things down because I didn't want to forget them. So if you'll just allow me to share some things. I've been pondering a lot about gifts, and today I just felt like I wanted to wear all of these gifts of the very people that I wanted to thank tonight for their gifts. So Ann Takasaki, I'm going to point to the thing that was a gift that's on my body that I can think about. Ann Takasaki nominated me for this award, and she called me one day and she was like, Carolina, you'll never guess it. I nominated you for this Earth Stewardship Award, and I was like, Ann, I'm so flattered. And I was just like, of course there's no way, there's no way I would ever, receive something like this, but I was just so flattered that she even thought to nominate me. And Ann has relentless charity, and that's a gift that she's given to me. This right here is from my parents. My dad was the first mentor that I had that instilled awe and wonder, and that sat down with me and allowed me to expound on philosophical thoughts and deep thinking. And my mom has always been a pillar of relentless faith and strength and hope in my life. And I'm wearing a scarf that is a gift to me from all of my African sisters at Big Ocean Women, spanning throughout the entire continent. And my earrings are from my indigenous sisters in Guatemala and in the Lakota tribe of Standing Rock. And my bracelet is from my children who inspire me and whom I am in awe of them, that have taught me so much. I love being a mother. And my ring from my dear husband, who's my protector and my support, and whom life just would not be as fun. He has the best humor and brings so much joy to my home. I'm going off script. I had everything written, but I never can stick to that. We're standing on the precipice of a massive change. I think we all heard it. We felt it today as we're being shown beautiful things juxtaposed to horrific things. And there's a heaviness that just weighs on us in our minds and in our hearts and in our spirits. But when I think about the gifts that I've been given, when I think about especially the gifts of my heavenly home, And even my first parents, our first parents that were gardeners, they were given the charge to garden a beautiful place and to steward it before they were even parents. And a true gardener gets their hands dirty. A true gardener walks the land and not only looks at the expanse of what can be, but also looks at the little edges and the little cracks, what's getting water, what's not, what creatures are nibbling on the plants here, what animal needs a little bit of attention here. A true gardener has eyes to see. And as I've been pondering gifts, I've been thinking a lot about the gift of the future and the brightness of the future that we're standing right at the precipice of as well. I know that we have a beautiful gift economy, a Christ-like economy, the economy of consecration that is right before our fingertips. As we transition out of old systems, as Latter-day Saints, we have the eyes to see the birth of new systems. They're organic systems. They're systems that are eternal. And I am so excited for that future. And that's why I do the work that I do, not only with Big Ocean Women, but with little hands and little hearts that can dig in the dirt and that can look at the little tiny things and look at what can be. That's why I model my school after the gift economy. If you don't have funds to pay, you can come and help in my garden. I want your kids to be there. When we gift of our gifts freely, something happens. Deep, deep connection happens. It's not an exchange economy, a tit for tat, where everything is done. The transaction is made and two parties go on their way. A gift economy is based on deep connection and deep creation. And so this I'm going to share very proudly. It's going to remind me of all of you here tonight and LDS Earth Stewardship and the work that you're doing, and it's going to give me great hope into the future. And so I'm just so grateful for this. Thank you so much.
This woman is amazing. And I just wanted to ask you two things. So one, if somebody wants to learn more about Big Ocean Women or about Mountain Vista, where can they go find it?
Okay, so we have some websites, and bigoceanwomen.org is where you can find us, and we have lots of different ways to be involved. You can also receive our newsletter. You can become a volunteer, and there's places on the website where you can connect with us that way. We also have a podcast called Currents Podcast, where we, just talk with all of our global women leading the way and who are leaders through their maternal identities and their faith. So and then Mountain Vista is mountainvistahomestead.com. And it's just a very simple website because me and my daughter built it and we know nothing about websites, but
Perfect. And my other question, being a podcaster yourself, would you ever consider being on another podcast?
I would love it, 100%, yes.
Amazing. Everybody, Carolina Allen, thank you so much. It's been an amazing night. I'm not crying, you're crying. It's truly been full. And we have one last thing that we want to have. And we're going to have a performance by Lydia Theobald. And there's two things that I want to tell you about Lydia. First is that Lydia is a musician, an educator, a music teacher, and a passionate, we're talking on-fire passion Earth Steward, and she's been involved with LDS for a while now, and we're so grateful to have her. She is going to perform for us a song that she wrote during perhaps some of her most formative educational times of Earth Stewardship, and I think it may have started in George Handley's class, if I remember right. The other thing I want to tell you about Lydia is that she is the co-host of a new podcast that we are launching called Holy Earth. We're really excited about it. this has been a work that's years in the making, and our previous program called In the Company of Stewards was a monthly program where we would have subject matter experts come on, talk about an interesting subject to webcast, and then whoever was able to show up that day would engage in question and answer. And we thought, this really needs to evolve into something that has a full media ecosystem. And so we thought it's time to do that. So we're very excited. And I also happen to be hosting that with Lydia. Where are you, Lydia? Lydia Theobald, can you come up here? She's going to be performing the song Ode to Earth, and that song is also going to be the music for the podcast. So I just wanted to talk really quick. First of all, so our first episode we wanted to announce is live. You can go find Holy Earth Podcast and listen to it. And we did our first interview with George Hanley, an eco-theologist at BYU just down the road. I think friend and cohort with Steven Peck as well, and many others. What are you most excited about with this venture of ours?
I just can't wait for all of us to feel this amazing community that we have, and to feel like there's a place you can go and listen to a new amazing voice every week and learn something new and leave feeling inspired and hopeful and just feel like you're not alone. I think we've all felt that tonight, that it is so important to be with people who feel the same way. And it's so important to, hear different opinions and learn from people who are different from you. But I think there's a lot of hope and restoration that comes from being with people, learning from people who understand things and think about things the same way you do. So hopefully you can feel that in this new podcast that we're doing.
Yes.
And this first episode we did with George Hanley left me feeling so filled, and I hope you can all listen and feel that same hope and beauty and just feeling so full of joy the way we did.
The bar is high already.
Yeah.
And so please go listen to that. And that's the other reason I asked you that question, Carolina, because maybe you can come on.
I already asked her. She said yes already.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I asked her at dinner.
Okay, great. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the music for the podcast?
Yeah, so like Phil said, this was a song I wrote 12 years ago now, which is so crazy. When I was just a young student at BYU, I felt so drawn to take a class called Environmental Humanities, and it changed my life because I met George Hanley. I know you're right around here somewhere. And it just opened my eyes to the community of people who love the earth and want to take care of it. And I learned so many things throughout the semester, and then we got to do a creative final along with a normal final. And I'm a musician, and I always love the chance to write a song. And so I wrote a song trying to sum up everything I had learned and felt in that class, which was really difficult. But I kept coming back to this theme of wonder and awe. And so it's just kind of a song about wonder and awe about the earth and a lot of the things that I love about it.
Amazing. I can't wait to hear it. Thanks. Everyone, without further ado, Lydia Theobald, an Ode to Earth.
I don't understand so many things. The life flowing through the veins of a leaf and the freckles on my little sister's cheeks. The sun bursting through the tops of the trees as I run through the leaf-covered streets, the misty rain hanging over the hills, the roses blooming all the way through November. I don't know how does it make any sense that I can plant a seed and water it, care for it, let the sun shine on it, and then it becomes something for me to eat? The golden squash I make into soup, the sweet crunchy crimson apples. The body of the earth is my food. I don't know why the sun fills the sky, but in this I see who I must be. Ooh. Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia. That was amazing. So now listen for that song, or parts of it, as we tune in to the first episode of the Holy Earth podcast. We've reached the end of our programming tonight, and we'd be remiss if we didn't end without thanking a number of folks. So first of all, I'd like to thank Nathan Robinson and his team at the Orem Library for making this whole event possible. They put so much work into it, the sound and lighting folks and techs, and the event planners, the people who helped us with the dinner and the catering. Please, thank you. Give them my credit. We also want to thank both our donating and in-kind sponsors, which many of whom have tables outside, and we encourage you to stop by if you didn't before the event on your way out. And that is Grow the Flow, Mormon Women for Ethical Government, Conserve Utah Valley, BYU Sustainability, and Marcus Smith and the Constant Wonder podcast. And who am I missing? Did I get them all, Chloe? Dow and Lynn Wilson. Thank you. Can we give them all a round of applause? And last but not least, I would like to bring Chloe Mills back up to the stage, please. Chloe is incredible. Where are you? Where are you, Chloe? Please tell me you're in the room. Is she putting the cookies out? I'm just going to sit here and, there you are. Come back. Little did we know that Chloe gave me a resignation letter and didn't come back.
There's cookies out there for everybody, and I was just putting them out there.
So we have something for you, Chloe. Oh. Chloe is our fearless master, commander, leader, operations extraordinaire at LDSES. She's our one and only paid part-time staff member. And she is the person that makes LDSES be able to run from a day-to-day. And so, Chloe, we wanted to say thank you. You are the person who helped wrangle us all together and make this event happen. And you do so much for us. So we have given you an amazing bouquet, which Teddy made.
Smells great.
A card from us all. And there will be in your email a gift card to a restaurant in your neck of the woods down in Texas where she lives. And we are also getting for you a framed version of one of the prints from our artists. So thank you so much, Chloe. And I would also like, on that note, to recognize all of the amazing artists who contributed to the exhibit that will be on display for, I believe, a couple of months here in the Orem Library. And many of those works can be purchased. And some of the artists out there, I think, are also selling prints. So please, if you haven't, stop by and see them and support them. So let's give a round of applause for them as well for contributing. With that, we want to thank you for being here, thank all the performers and our speaker, and say good night. And if you want to be part of some of our service next week, the International Coastal Cleanup Day is happening, and all of our chapters around the world will be involved in some way. And even here in Utah, if you want to be involved, there will be cleanup at Utah Lake. So please go and check out our website, sign up for our newsletter. You will be able to find information on how to be involved in that and the many other events and programming we have this fall. And with that, I will say good night, everybody. Thank you. Grab a cookie on the way out.